The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. So we're on our bye week, and I'm going to really take a long, hard look at this roster. We're going to take inventory during this bye week, and we're going to do it by sides of the ball. Today, we're going to start with the offensive side of the football. Tomorrow, we will venture over to the defensive side, where I think more work probably needs to be done than on the offensive side. But there is work to be done on the offensive side of the football, and I don't think we're that far away offensively, but there are pieces that need to be added. I do think there are conversations that have to be had about this side of the football. And so I think decisions are going to be very key moving forward. And I think the rest of this season needs to be an opportunity for, the staff to evaluate what they have currently and what they need moving forward. And I hope they take advantage of the time that they have. It sucks that you're at 3-8 heading into Thanksgiving and that you're basically out of the playoff race, with 7 games to go, basically in the season, or 6 games to go. It sucks that you're out of the mix, but at this point, you can still find value and purpose in your final 6 games if you utilize them correctly, which I don't have a ton of confidence that they're going to do because they're so fixated on winning, which I can't be mad at them for, right? They still have a job to do, and winning is the primary goal. But DQ said you want to fill up both cups, right? You want to fill up both buckets, which is prioritize winning while also looking at some of the younger players and figuring out who could be a part of the solution moving forward. I don't really trust them to necessarily do that, but I got to take them at their word at face value. So with that said, we're going to get straight to the proceedings this evening, and we're going to really assess this roster. And we're going to start on the offensive side of the football, as I mentioned already, and we're going to start at the the quarterback position. So we know Jayden Daniels is the leader of this team. As he goes, so does this team. If he's not healthy, if he's not playing well, we don't stand a chance. But he's definitely a guy you move forward with. I think it is imperative that you re-sign Marcus Mariota again next season. I looked around the league. I looked at the list of free agents that currently exists in the NFL and at the quarterback position next year going into 2026, and there is nothing out there. And when you look at the state of the backup quarterback position in the NFL, it's nasty out there, man. It's nasty. You don't want to be a part of the teams looking for a competent backup, especially if you think you got a chance to do something. And with Jayden's playing, style and, things of that nature, you just like Lamar Jackson. I think it's imperative that Baltimore have a competent backup behind Lamar Jackson, because at any moment, Lamar could tweak something. He could go down, anything could happen. You got to be prepared in this league. And it doesn't matter. It's funny because people always want to talk about Jayden Daniels, his style of play, etc. CJ Stroud's a pocket quarterback. He finally leaves the pocket and he gets his block knocked off, and he's been out with a concussion for almost a month now, and he's not playing on Thursday Night Football. Like, you can get hurt doing anything. Michael Penix refuses to run, and now he's done for the season, and they think it's a significant knee injury. Like, you could be a guy that never leaves the pocket and injure yourself. Like, it's a crazy conversation, but ultimately, Jayden Daniels is going to be a part of this roster next year. And I think Marcus Mariota has to be back next year as well. As far as the backups are concerned, Josh Johnson, pack him up. And Sam Hartman. Hey, Sam's a good dude. Love him. Love the vibes he brings. Every time they do some social media post where they're asking the players to do something, Sam's a part of it, whether he's doing that or Mikey Sainristil is calling him on the phone. He's such a good dude, but I'm past the good dude vibes and shit like that. I'm past all of that. Get me guys that actually impact this roster. Sam Hartman doesn't impact this roster. We gave him a chance in the preseason. He looked like hot ass. There has to be a developmental guy on this roster next year that can actually play. And if you can't beat out 39-year-old Josh Johnson, you can't be here. Pack up Sam Hartman, pack up Josh Johnson, Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota need to be brought back, and you need to bring in a developmental quarterback behind those two that you can feel good about moving forward. There needs to be a developmental quarterback here in Washington next year. Whether that guy's undrafted, whether that guy's a 7th round pick, I don't really give a shit. Find a developmental quarterback and let's get to work. Okay. So that's the quarterback position. You've got 2 guys that I think you can move forward with next year. You need to bring back Marcus Mariota at all costs once again. And then I think you have to find some sort of developmental quarterback because that guy currently is not on the roster as it is constituted. You go to the running back position next. So this one is a little bit less clear. It's a little bit more murky. So active right now, you have Bill, Jeremy McNichols, and Chris Rodriguez. On injured reserve, you currently have veteran Austin Eckler. And at the bottom, as you can see, on the practice squad, you have veteran running back Chase Edmonds, who played on Sunday versus the Dolphins in a special teams capacity, and rookie running back Donovan Edwards, a guy that a lot of Commanders fans would love to see. I am included in that group. If you're going to have Chase Edmonds running back kicks, you might as well have Donovan Edwards doing it instead. But I digress. So Bill is a part of this thing moving forward. Jeremy McNichols is an interesting discussion because he does so many things. You love him. You know you can count on him. But he's going to be 30 next year. Do you need him? Could you not find a better replacement for him? He's a guy that probably comes to camp next year. They just love this guy. But I thought the same thing of OZ. I thought the same thing of Dante Fowler Jr. and other guys that I thought, oh, they just love this guy. There's no way he's not going to be back. And then those guys weren't back. So McNichols just feels like a core guy that they're just not going to, let walk away. And I don't hate McNichols being back as a veteran. You need a veteran in this room. Bill is a young guy. You're going to probably bring in another running back from somewhere else that may be a veteran or another rookie, right? Young guy. So I don't hate the idea of having a veteran in that room to show these guys how it's done. McNichols, it's hard to really say what he will be, in terms of going into next year. Chris Rodriguez, I think, is gone next year, right? I'm not going to pack him up because he serves a purpose. But you can do better than C-Rod. You can do better than C-Rod, but he doesn't have to be gone. But he's on the last year of his rookie contract. I don't necessarily know if they feel the need to bring him back. But he's done some good things this year. And again, he's another one of these guys. You look and see how the rest of this season goes and how he plays down the stretch. I would prefer to see Bill, but it feels like they're leaning towards continuing to give C-Rod the bulk of the carries. And if they do that and he takes advantage of it, you have to consider him a guy that they might bring back next year. For me, personally, I don't think he's going to be back next year, but we'll see. He's another guy similar to Jeremy McNichols. You can't say definitively if he's being brought back next year or not. For me, Eckler, pack him up. Love what he did for us last year. Hate that he got injured this year. But at 30 years old, coming off of a big-time major injury and, just being at, the point of his career where he's at, I don't need a veteran like Eckler coming off of the injury he's coming off of to be in the way of some young running back trying to get some run. You could pack Austin Eckler up at this point. Chase Edmonds, pack him up. He's another guy that I'm not interested in him being here next year. I'm not even interested in him being on the field right now. Like, he was supposed to be here if something happened to like Jeremy McNichols or one of these third down guys that you feel confident in. That's when he was supposed to be brought up. If you're just bringing somebody up to return kickoffs, why not bring up a guy with true speed and Donovan Edwards to do that? Like you claim that the kickoffs are now suited for running backs to be back there. Okay, we'll put Donovan Edwards back there. Anyway, pack those two up. I think next year, Bill, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, and Donovan Edwards are all guys that could easily be, a part of this team in the spring, going into training camp in the summer. I can't necessarily vouch wholeheartedly for McNichols and Rodriguez. Bill and Donovan Edwards will be here next year without question. Two young guys that are rookies this year that I think they want to see more of next year. McNichols feels like he's going to be here. C-Rod it's a questionable decision as to whether or not he'll be back or not. But I mean, it won't hurt to bring him back if they decide to do that. But you actually have to sign him. With Bill and Donovan Edwards, you don't have to do anything. They're already under contract. You have their rights. You don't have to do anything for those guys. They'll be here. McNichols and Rodriguez require you to bring them back. Same with Eckler, which is why you don't bring him back. Their contracts are all up. They may bring back McNichols. They brought him back this past year. They could easily bring him back. Same with Rodriguez. They could bring him back. His contract was up. They brought him back. They tendered him. He was a restricted free agent. So we'll see what they decide to do at the running back position. I do think there are some interesting decisions to be made here. But I think you go into next year with, at a bare minimum, 2 running backs on the roster and Bill and Edwards. You could easily go into this offseason with 4 in Bill, J-Mac, C-Rod, and Donovan Edwards. All right. So that's the running back position. Now we find ourselves talking about the wide receiver position. All right. So this one is a little bit more complex. So I hinted at Deebo Samuel being brought back next year. And that's something that you have to keep in consideration, right? So let's go through the active guys first. Treylon Burks, clearly we want to see more. They told us that the finger injury that he had surgery on is not serious and that he should be back at some point this season. I'll take them at face value in them telling us that, and just assume that he'll be back at some point this year. But just off the small sample size, I'm intrigued and I want to see more. And I think I speak for you. I don't like speaking for you, but I think you are on board with seeing more of Treylon Burks. Excuse me. I think he'll be back next season. Robbie Chosen, let's go ahead and pack him up. No reason for him to be back next year. Go ahead and pack Robbie Chosen up. Jacoby Jones, I'm intrigued just based off of the small sample size, the catch and run from the Dolphins game, him being an undrafted with some size, pause. That's a guy that I think they're intrigued by, and I expect him to be back in some capacity. Somebody told me today or earlier on one of the shows that Jacoby Jones was released. I don't think that's a release for him to not be here. I think that is a release for him to end up back on the practice squad. They probably had to make some sort of roster move. Let me go check the Commanders page just to make sure that nothing is going on. If they released Jacoby Jones, so that happened an hour ago. So I think they're going to bring him back on the practice. I could be wrong, right? There's nothing that he did on Sunday that would speak to me to say that he's not back in some capacity. I fully expect him to be back on this roster as a practice squad member. So you don't need River Craycraft. We'll talk about that here in a second. But Jacoby Jones, I think, is going to be back in some capacity. Clearly, they had to make a roster move to free up a space to bring somebody on board at a different position, which means all it means is that they're ready to start activating some of these guys that have their window open, but they're not counting towards because they're on IR. They're not counting towards the roster. So if you've got Drake Jackson, if you've got Will Harris and all these guys coming back from injury, you got to get rid of some dudes, right? So Jacoby Jones is going to be back on his practice squad. River Craycraft can kick rocks, right? That's what I see happening. But I could be wrong. But I expect a corresponding move here in the coming days where we see Jacoby Jones has been added to the practice squad and River Craycraft has been removed from the practice squad or something to that effect. Jalen Lane, rookie, 4th-round pick. He's not going anywhere. He's a part of the future moving forward. Terry McLaurin, extension, big part of our offense. We know what he is. Chris Moore, pack his ass up. Pack him the hell up. I don't know what the fascination with Chris Moore is, why they love this guy so goddamn much. I'm sick of it, though. We could do so much better than Chris Moore. We deserve much better than Chris Moore. He won't be back next year. I promise you. This is the last year we'll have to deal with this shit. We shouldn't have had to deal with it this year. If there's one thing that I'm hypercritical of Adam Peters with, it's the lack of reasonable depth at receiver. He could have done better than the shit that we put out on the field. He could have did better than Chris Moore. He really could have done better than Chris Moore. Pack his ass up. Debo, this is a hell of a conversation. I am open to Debo being brought back. Talked about that on Commanders Nightly News. Just to expound upon that. Obviously, you see he's 29. He'll be 30 next year. You already have a 30-year-old receiver in Terry McLaurin. Do you want 2 30-year-old receivers? I actually think the answer there is yes. I do think you should want 2 veteran receivers in a room that's going to be full of young, wide receivers. I just told you that Jalen Lane is going to be a part of the mix. Traylon Burks is going to be a part of the mix. Luke McCaffrey, we're going to talk about him here in a second, part of the mix. I told you Jacoby Jones could be a part of this mix next year. Ja'Cory Brooks, I don't know if they think he can play football or not, but he's another young wide receiver. And I think you need to draft a young wide receiver next year. There is nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing available in wide receiver free agency next year. So you got all these young guys. You need a couple of veterans to steer these rookies in the right way, show them how it's done, So I don't think just having one veteran is good enough. Because what if something happens to one of the veterans? Now you got no veterans, and now you got a wide receiver room with the blind leading the blind. To have a second veteran in there like Debo, I think is huge. And I also think he can help this team on the field. So I'm all for bringing Debo back, but I would like to see what it looks like. I would like to see what Debo, Terry, and Jaden all look like on the field together. And if this is something that we need to run back, or if it's something that one is enough. Like we can go in a different direction. So Debo feels like he's going to be back, but we'll see. Noah Brown, pack him up. Yeah, he'll always have the Washington walk-off, aka Bear Trap, aka Noah's Ark. We'll always have that, but the inability to stay healthy is just too much for me to deal with. I can't ride this roller coaster with him. Him potentially being up, him being healthy, him being hurt, him supposed to be coming back, him having a relapse and a setback. I can't keep doing this shit with him, man. Like we're relying way too heavily on Noah Brown for him to never play football. Let's pack his ass up. We can take one of these young guys, Traylon Burks or Jacoby Jones can fill that void next year. I'm good. Pack his ass up. Luke's going to be here next year. Ja'Cory Brooks probably going to be here next year. River Craycraft, I honestly don't know why the hell he's here right now. Pack his ass up. Like if you're going to get rid of somebody to bring back Jacoby Jones, it's River Craycraft. Pack his ass up. Get him out of here. Let's move forward. So just off the strength of what we have right now, between active, injured reserve, and practice squad, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential receivers heading into camp next year. Again, Debo, because he's not under contract. Traylon Burks is going to be back. He's not technically under contract next year, but I don't see them not bringing Traylon Burks back. Jacoby Jones will be here next year. Lane is under contract. Terry's under contract. Luke's under contract. And Ja'Cory Brooks is under contract. So, or he could be back. He's not under contract. They already tore up the contract that they had him on when they signed him initially. So the question then becomes, will he be brought back? But that's 7 guys. I think you're going to add somebody in the draft next year, and then you'll probably bring in a couple more veterans. This number will be like 10, 11 going into off season next year. But you got 7 dudes right now, and 5 or 6 of them, 1 in Burks, 2 in Jones, 3 in Lane, 4 in McLaurin, 5 in McCaffrey, and then if Debo's brought back, 6 guys that you feel like really good about in terms of them competing for roster spots, etc. But you still got to add a guy. You still got to add a guy, right? Whether that's a veteran, which I don't think that exists, or it's a draft pick, which I think it should be. All right, so let's go ahead and move to the next position, and that would be tight end. So this is a very convoluted position. I have no idea what they're going to do here. None whatsoever. I'm so in the dark as to what their thought process is here that it's scary, right? Like every other position, I kind of got a feel for what they're trying to accomplish. I kind of got a feel for what it is. And, I can then set my expectations accordingly. I have no idea what the hell they're going to do here. All right, Bates, we already know he got a fresh contract this past offseason, best blocking tight end in football. He's not going anywhere. Zach Ertz, man, it hurts me to do this shit, but buddy, you got to carry your ass. Pack him up. Love Zach Ertz to death. Love what he's brought to this team. Love what he has provided for us. We'll always have 2024, but at 35 years old, going on 36, and you're in the way now. You're officially in the way. You're officially in the way of growth and progress now that we're not winning anything of note. You got to get the hell out of the way, bro. Pack him all the way the hell up. I know him and Cliff are besties, and he wants to finish his career with Cliff. Well, you just did, bro. Unless you want to play somewhere else, this was it. It was fun while it lasted. I know you and Jaden have a great rapport, but we can't keep doing this with Ben Sinnott. We got to see what he can do. And as long as you're on the roster, we will never see what Ben Sinnott can do. He's got to go. Ben Sinnott, as we talked about already, he'll be going into year 3 of a 4-year rookie contract. So he'll be here next year. Colson Yankoff is interesting. Like, clearly they love this man. Clearly they think he can help on special teams. I don't disagree with that. He's proven to be a core special teamer. I don't think he's going anywhere, but can he do anything else? Can he actually catch the football? Like, if he's a core special teamer, which it feels like he is, then okay, fine, whatever. But does he have to be here? Like, seriously, does he have to be here? No. Yes. Maybe so. I don't have any reason to kick him off the roster. He's not stopping somebody else from making the football team, but I'm just saying, right? Tyree Jackson is a guy that I think they actually like. They wanted to see him. They were upset that he got injured. I was upset that he got injured. I wanted to see his big ass this year, in the preseason. So I think that's a guy that they want to work with again, and I don't think they're going to get rid of him. He'll be invited to the offseason and into camp, I believe, next year. And then Lawrence Cager, shout out to Ed, right? Lawrence Cager, super undersized, former wide receiver, turned tight end. There is a lot of athleticism there, but is it ever going to manifest itself into anything real? I don't know. I think they want to continue to see. At a bare minimum, I think he gets an invite next year. I don't think he's going to be a part of our future, though, but he's got enough potential to not pack him up. I do think you have to move on from Ertz, and I do think you have to add to this position next year. And Colson Yankoff can't stop you from doing that, right? Like, we're going to talk about a few guys that are going to be available next year, potentially available next year, that I think you have to really consider if you're the Commanders, if you're not bringing back Zach Ertz, which you should not bring back. But I digress. This is an interesting position group. You have to bring back, you have to move on from Zach Ertz. He is a hindrance to progress at this point. Not because he can't still play. I think he can still help, but because you're limited in what you do with him on the field. Like there's no run after catch opportunities. There's no separation based off of athleticism. He can still create separation off of route running, but at 36 years old, now he's so old he can't even stand still for 3 seconds in his stance. Like we got to move on from Zach Ertz. Love him to death. We got to move on from Ertz. And now that takes us to our final position on the offensive side of the football, and position group rather. And that's the offensive line. So we'll break this into chunks because there's so many of these guys. That we'll start with the active players, right? Guys that are on the active roster right now. Brandon Coleman is going to be here. He's on the second year of a 4-year rookie contract, so he'll be going into year 3 next season. He'll be here. Connor Lee, rookie deal, 5 years with the team option. He's going to be here. George Fant was brought in here as a late addition, as a veteran. I'm not quite sure how they feel about him moving forward. Feels like a guy that you can pack up. I think he was more of insurance for this season. At 34 years old next year, I don't. You can find a younger swing tackle to man up your tackle position. I think you pack up George Fant after this season. Trent Scott, man, we had a good run. I think it's time to pack him up. He was, and again, we don't have to pack him up. Matter of fact, we'll save that. We don't need to pack him up yet because he provides depth. But at 31, no, you know what? No, I'm standing on business. He's 31. He'll be 32 this upcoming year. It's time for us to invest on this offensive line with younger developmental pieces. You got some of these young guys that we're going to talk about here in a second. Trent Scott is a guy that hasn't really been a part of the team this year. He was a huge part of the team last year when they went jumbo. He was the extra tight end. Brandon Coleman is taking over that spot. I really don't see where Trent Scott fits into the equation moving forward. Pack him up. Laramie Tunzel, excellent acquisition this year. He's going to get an extension this offseason, so he's not going anywhere. Cosme already got his extension. He's not going anywhere. Allegretti, if I'm not mistaken, is going into the final year of his deal. So he signed a 3-year deal the first year that they showed up, and this is year 2 of that. Next year, he'll be here, I believe, as a veteran. I could see them cutting him after this season, but why? You know, he serves a purpose. He's a guy you can rely on if you need in a pinch to put him in the game at 3 positions on the offensive line. There's no reason to move on from Nick Allegretti. Chris Paul has proven that he has worth on this football team as a former 7th-round pick that this group did not draft. Him starting basically since week maybe 4, I believe, has been a revelation this season. He'll be here next year. I think he's got 1 more year left on his rookie contract, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a part of the 2022 draft class. I could be wrong, and he could have been a part of the 21 draft class. Let's see, 21, 22, 23, 24. No, he had to be 22 because if he was 21, he would already have been a free agent. So I think he was a part of the 2022 draft class, 7th-round pick that year, 22, 23, 24. This would be the final year of his deal. They got a decision to make whether to bring him back or not. I don't see them not bringing him back at this point. With the way he played this year and with the uncertainty around Brandon Coleman, you have to bring back Chris Paul, I believe. Andrew Wiley is in the last year of his deal. So they signed him. The last group signed him to a 3-year contract. This is the 3rd year of that deal. And so I think Wiley brings a lot of value. I could see him being back. But again, at this point, turning 32 years old, he's a good dude, great locker room guy, adds value, can play multiple positions. They may bring him back just off the strength of him being able to play, 4 out of the 5 offensive line positions. He can play both tackles and both guard spots. They love that versatility, and they may bring him back, but pack his ass up. At this point, again, some of these young guys got to start showing and proving. They got to start, earning their keep here. You got to move on from them too. You can't be just keeping dead weight around here. Tyler Biadasz is going to be back, and so there's nothing really to see here. They signed him to a 3-year deal. He's going into the final year of that contract. Next year, he will be here. So there's nothing really to see there. So now you move on from these guys who are actively on the roster to some guys who are not actively on the roster. So now we're talking injured reserve and practice squad players. For me, Lucas Niang is a guy that they clearly think has some talent, and they want to see if he can, materialize into something. He's younger than Andrew Wiley. He's younger than George Fant. I think that's a guy you got to bring back if you truly believe in Lucas Niang. Now, I think he suffered a serious injury, so that's something else to keep in consideration and in mind. But if you feel good about him health-wise, I say you bring back Lucas Niang. If not, you go out there, you scour the streets, you find another young guy, or you draft a young guy, or you find an undrafted to continue to work with. But you don't have to keep bringing back all these oldie but goodies on the offensive line. I think offensive line is one of those positions, much like defensive line, where you should always keep young guys in the tuck. You should always be drafting, having undrafteds, developmental guys on the roster. That's what the Eagles do. Every year they're drafting new offensive linemen, new defensive linemen, and they cycle these guys through. So when somebody has that big year, now they're up for a contract, we got a guy waiting in the wings ready to take over, right? Milton Williams looking for a big deal. Sorry, right? And look, this is how they did it. They had what's the dude that went and got the big deal from San Francisco from Philadelphia? Shucks. I can't remember his name, but he was a massive defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost, right? And then the 49ers gave him a big deal. They just said, cool. We got another dude waiting in the wings. And that dude was the one that just went to New England, right? That was playing exceptional football. He was ready to step in, and he did. And then he started balling and helped them win the Super Bowl. And it was like, hey, that was dope, but we can't pay you. And then they got Jomo, who stepped right in, right? Because they constantly have guys just in the tuck. Offensive line wise, same thing. Tyler Steen, step in, bro. We need it, right? They had the Cam Jurgens behind Jason Kelsey for years, for like 2 years before they said, all right, man, we're going to put you in a guard for a little bit. But he was cooking on the bench as a second-round pick. They drafted Jordan Mailata in the 7th round, put that man on ice for 2 years while he learned how to play football. Like, you got to be constantly bringing in offensive linemen and defensive linemen. They got to start doing that. Niang might be back. I'm not going to pack him up, but you already know. Michael Dieter. Pack his ass all the way up. I don't even like the fact that he's on the P squad. Julian Good-Jones, what are you doing here still? I could have sworn I dismissed you a very, very long time ago. Why are you still here? Why are you still here, bro? Timothy McKay is a guy, this is what I'm talking about, a developmental guy that they felt like had he not sustained the injury that he did in the pre-draft process, would have been a mid-round draft pick. Okay, cool. If that's what you feel about him, he should be a guy you continue to develop. He got on the field late in training camp, and so this year was a wash for him from that standpoint. He's going to get a full offseason to work with the staff, and this is a guy you should be developing. Right. And I would love to hear that Timothy McKay has impressed them to the point where he's in a battle for the left guard spot, along with Brandon Coleman and, Chris Paul, if they bring him back, which I'm pretty sure they will bring him back at this point. But this is what you need. You need developmental guys like Timothy McKay, right? So when it's all said and done, as we bring this into focus, let's downsize this now and bring everybody onto the screen. So now you assess the whole offensive line, and we look at who we looking to try to pack up. We are packing up George Fant. We are packing up Trent Scott. Oh, I'm packing up Trent Scott. Y'all might be like, no, keep Trent Scott. Nah, F that. We packing up Andrew Wiley. I can't pack up Andrew Wiley, man. I feel like you should pack him up, but they may decide to bring him back. We definitely packing up Michael Dieter, and we definitely packing up Julian Good-Jones. Pack these dudes the hell up. So when it's all said and done, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that you could be bringing to the offseason program next year. Again, Wiley is not under contract, so he could just not be brought back after this season. Lucas Niang, we'll see what happens with him based off the injury situation. Chris Paul is not under contract, so they're going to have to figure something out with him. But he is a restricted, I believe he would be a restricted free agent. No, he won't be a restricted. He was a draft pick, so he won't be restricted as a free agent. But well, he might be a restricted free agent because they cut him several times. I believe he's, hasn't been on the roster. Maybe he never was cut. You have to check on that. I think the last group cut him though, and then brought him back. And so I don't know. He might be restricted. Anyway, you got 10 guys here. And I think you can add to this mix, whether it's via the draft, undrafteds, free agency, whatever. I could see them adding to this position. So that's the offense in a nutshell. So basically, what I've effectively told you is that you need at least one quarterback next year. Let's write this down. I should be making a list of this. I'm going to write this down in my pad. You need at least one quarterback, because we're packing up Josh Johnson and we're packing up Sam Hartman, right? You need at least the running back is interesting because you could pack up both Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez and be down to just Bill and Donovan Edwards. Highly doubt that Jeremy McNichols isn't back. And with the way C-Rod is playing, he might be back. I still think you need to add at least one running back next year. So we'll say at least one running back. Wide receiver, we had 7 running wide receivers after we packed up a few guys, all of the veterans, basically. The Robbie Chosens, the Chris Moores, the River Craycrafts of the world. You still got to add one receiver, whether that's via the draft or free agency. Now, if Debo isn't brought back, then you need 2. So I'm going to put that in my notes. 2, if Debo isn't brought back. All right. Tight end. We packing up Zach Ertz, unfortunately, and you have to add one tight end. May not be a high-end tight end. It may not be a starter tight end. But if you're going to remove the guy that was the starter last year, then you got to add something in. And they may just do it in-house. They got other guys, one on injury reserve, one on the practice squad. Who knows? I really don't know what the hell they're going to do at tight end. I really don't. And then offensive line, we're packing up all the oldie but goodies. We're packing up George Fant. We're packing up Andrew Wiley more likely than not. He's not under contract. So I think he's done here. You're packing up Trent Scott, another oldie but goodie. You're packing up Michael Dieter and Julian Good-Jones. You move on from those guys. They might bring Julian Good-Jones back. I don't know why, but they probably will. Sick of Michael Dieter here too. Pack those dudes the hell up. Offensive line. I don't think you need anything. Like, you don't have to address offensive line like the other positions. I do think you have to add a developmental. Let's put one developmental offensive lineman, preferably a tackle, right? Preferably offensive tackle. So, because I think Timothy McKay gives you the developmental interior offensive lineman. I think you need a developmental tackle, which we don't currently have, it feels like. Lucas Niang was going to fill that void for us. And he's a veteran. I don't even know if you consider a veteran like Niang to be a developmental tackle, but I think you do need a developmental guy that you work with, preferably a tackle, like I said. That is the offense. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, get a word from one of our sponsors, come back on the other side, and then I'm going to tell you about two positions in particular that I would address via free agency, and here are some options that exist. We'll come back on the other side after this word from our sponsor.
Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper.
All right, so I've taken the liberty of, and let's just make this a little bit bigger. All right, I think that should be good. Too big. Let's make it smaller. Maybe I can get rid of the ad. Hold on. It'll probably come back though. But yeah, here we go. I think that should be good. Yeah, that's perfect. So I've taken the liberty of going to the running back position. Quarterback is bare. You don't need to race. We don't need to waste our time there. I've taken the liberty of looking at the running back position. I've already sorted it by age because I'm not interested in adding older players. We did that last year because we were chasing a chip. That's not where we are now. We have to recalibrate. We're still trying to win and win big, but you have to now refocus your recalibration the way that it is supposed to be run, right? A wise man, told me that success is a deterrent to the process. Success is a deterrent to the process. So, or success is a distraction to the process. That's what happened to us. We got sidetracked last year from the process because we had too much success in 2024. And that's okay. I'm not apologizing for that. And I'm not upset at AP for going after it. But now we're refocused. That distraction has been removed from the equation now that you're 3-8 heading into Thanksgiving. That distraction has been removed, and you can get back to the business of building this roster up the way that it's supposed to. And I think it starts by adding younger players, not veterans, like we did this past year. So I've already taken the liberty of, by rearranging this running back free agency crop coming up by age. And the first guy on the list is very intriguing for me, Keaton Mitchell of the Baltimore Ravens. You give me any of their running backs. They got another dude named Rashid Ali. I'd take him too. He's not going anywhere, right? But Keaton Mitchell, I could easily see them not re-signing Keaton Mitchell. Now, here's the thing. He's a restricted free agent. That's probably why you're not going to be able to get your hands on him. But I'm interested in Keaton Mitchell. I can't speak for y'all. I think Keaton Mitchell can be a baller in this league. And he's got speed to burn. And I think next year you're going to see that speed really, truly return because he had the injury his rookie season. He's back this year. But next year is where you see that real speed. And he's only going to be 24 years old next year, by the way. So he's still very young. So sign me up for some Keaton Mitchell. Breece Hall, as we all know, will be a free agent next year. Will the Jets franchise tag him? Will they let him walk away? Don't know. You see what the market value is for him next year, $10 million a year. Will they be willing to pay a running back that kind of money? Breece Hall is that kind of back. He can catch it out of the backfield. He can run it. There's a lot you can do with Breece Hall. I'm not sure if that's the type of back they're looking for in their backfield necessarily, but I'm interested. He's going to be 25 next year, so he's still very, very young. I'm big on moving forward. We have to get guys that fit the timeline that we're on. Jaden Daniels is in that 25-year-old range. That's where we need to be with our young players that we're bringing in, guys that can grow with Jaden at his age and be a part of this thing moving forward. Breece Hall fits that description. Another guy that is on this list that I am absolutely madly in love with, if we can get him to get to free agency, is K9, Kenneth Walker III from Seattle. Seems like they love him, then they don't love him. They love to take him off the field and put, Charbonnet on the field. They got a slew of backs that they, rotate into the game. Seems like Kenneth Walker sometimes is an afterthought with that offense. I'd love to take him off their hands if they don't love him. I'd love to take him off their hands if they don't love Kenneth Walker III. Give me some K9. He's only 25 years old. He'll be 26 next year. I think he'd be a great fit for this offense. He's a slasher. He can run in between the tackles. He can get outside. He's got the speed to hit the home run. This is why you have to find out if Bill is truly a running back that can be your every down back or not. You got to find out, because if he's not, there are some real options in free agency that make a ton of sense for the Commanders that aren't going to cost you a ton of money. They're going to cost you. You see Kenneth Walker's number is right around 10 million as well. Like, it's going to cost you. Is anybody batting their eye at a 3-year, $30 million deal for Kenneth Walker? 3 years, 36. Shit, we spent that kind of money at receiver. We spent that kind of money at edge rusher. I'm not afraid to spend that kind of money at running back. I don't think AP is going to spend that kind of money at running back, because coming from San Francisco, that's not what they did. But you see what they did for Christian McCaffrey, and then they paid him. And if he believes in the running back and the impact of a really good running back, I'd be willing to pay 3 years, $30 million, 3 years, $36 million to Breece Hall and or Kenneth Walker III. At their age too, where there's a ton of football left in front of him, yes, sign me up. He's going to be 26 years old next year. The last guy at the running back position, this is a C-Rod replacement. This is not a, like, go get us a number one running. This is we want a better C-Rod. Come down here. You see C-Rod is going to be a free agent next year. He's restricted, right? So that means we have the ability to set the terms of his free agency next year. If we want him back, we can bring C-Rod back because he's a restricted free agent. Who isn't a restricted free agent is Tyler Algier. I don't know about you, but I love me some Tyler Algier. He's a baller. The Falcons would be stupid to let this man walk away. I don't know what his price tag is. It's saying $1 million, just a shade under $2 million. That's bullshit. Tyler Algier should be getting at least $4 million a year on a contract. At least $4 million a year. If I'm his agent, you got to find a way to get, for what he provides, what he does, he should be at least getting $4 million a year. At least 3.5, no less than that. 3 years, $10 million, at least for Tyler Algier. Sign me up, goddammit. He's a better version of Chris Rodriguez. If you want to go that way, I would say Tyler Algier. You want to move on from C-Rod. You think Bill can be a first and second down back, but you want to still have a hammer, but you want to upgrade that hammer, upgrade it with Tyler Algier. Sign me up for that shit. There's options available at running back. You got to figure out what Bill is. Is Bill a complimentary piece? If that is the case, go get you a Kenneth Walker or a Breece Hall so you don't have to address it in free agent in the draft. One less thing you got to worry about in the draft. We got money. Let's not penny pinch. We got money. I'm not telling you to go out here and spend it frivolously. This ain't frivolously. This is spending it with good intent. These are options that are available to you. If you figure out Bill is a number one back, you can go get you a Tyler Algier to complement him. If Atlanta's dumb enough to let him walk away, he's the perfect complement to Bijan Robinson. They'd be dumb not to give him $3, $4, and $5 million a year just to stay in Atlanta. They'd be stupid to not do that. But I've seen crazier things happen, right? Seen crazier things happen. But there's some names on this list, man. There are some options available here that really make me excited. I can't speak for you. Another position that I'm excited about in free agency is tight end. Again, don't know I'm so confused as to what our direction at the tight end position is. I don't think they're going to do anything personally. Let's hit this age button because I'm not interested in none of these old ass tight ends. We did the old thing, not trying to do that again. So here's what I'm interested in. Second name up here, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, it's going to cost you. May cost you a lot, may cost you a bit, but it's going to cost you. Okay. I don't know if Atlanta's going to let him walk, if they're going to slap the franchise tag on him, what the situation is, but I'm interested. Just know I'm interested. Okay. I'd love to see what Kyle Pitts could do in a Cliff Kingsbury offense with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. I'd love to see what that shit looks like. I can't speak for you, but I'd love to see it. Another guy that I am very interested in. How about some Isaiah Likely? Can I interest anybody in Isaiah Likely? Both Kyle Pitts and Isaiah Likely are going to be 26 years old next year. These are spring chickens. These are puppies, baby. Puppies that you can bring along for the ride with Jaden Daniels. How many tight ends do the damn Ravens need anyway? Shit. Let me get Isaiah Likely up off you, man. You don't need him. They ain't going to let that young man walk, though, right? There's no way the Ravens let Isaiah Likely get out of their building, right? That's crazy talk, right? They got to franchise tag him. It doesn't cost a lot to franchise tag a tight end. There's no way they let him walk, right? I can't see him getting a free agency, but if he does, I'm interested. Here's another guy that I'm very interested in. If you're a Maryland Terp fan, then you know this name, Chig Okonkwo. Tight end for the Tennessee Titans. Athletically gifted, somewhat undersized. He's not the big 6'4", 6'5" guy you're looking for. He's more like 6'2", right? Don't care. Super athlete, can catch the football. He's on pace for a career year with the Titans this year. Not going to cost you a lot. You see how much he's making right now. You're not like the other two guys. You probably got to break the bank. You see what Isaiah Likely's number is. Pitt's number is a little bit over that, right? Those are double figure guys. That's 4 years, 48 million. You know, Likely's 4 years, 44 million, something like that. Chig Okonkwo, that's 3 years, $22 million, right? It's nowhere near the money you're gonna spend on those other guys. But he gives you that threat of an athletic tight end that we currently don't have. If again, this is why you got to find out if Ben Sinnott can do it or not. And I don't know where the hell their head is, right? I'm just telling you where mine is. And then another guy, and this probably is a guy that I could see AP doing this because he's a former 49er. Jake Tonjes, right? Going to be 27 years old, a little bit older than I would like, but, 27 with a ton of tread left on the tires because he hasn't been a primary option in San Francisco. He's a restricted free agent, as you can see. So that's another guy that the 49ers, who I think they really like what he provided them when George Kittle was out. I don't think they just let him walk. So I don't think he's going to be available. But should he become available, we know AP loves him, a former 49er, right? He loves himself, a former 49er, an athletic guy that would fit into our tight end room, that wouldn't cost a lot of money. He loves himself, a low risk, high reward free agent, right? He loves to be cheap. So this would fit that bill if Jake Tonjes were allowed to leave San Francisco with no strings attached. There's some other names here that are interesting. Cade Otton. There's another Ravens tight end here, Charlie Kohler. But those guys are more so the mold of tight end that we already have. The physical blocking. Kohler is a physical blocking tight end. Otton is a pass catching tight end, but he doesn't offer you the type of athleticism that you love, right? He can catch the shit out of the football with no gloves, by the way, but I digress. So I really like this group of free agent tight ends as well. Don't love the receivers. Don't love the offensive linemen that will be available. We don't need to be venturing in those spaces anyway. I think you just need to add another young wide receiver. And if you're going to go with a veteran, just bring back Deebo Samuel, right? That's kind of how I feel about the free agency crop right now. Obviously, there are more names that will be added to these lists. Teams will cut players that are currently not slated to be free agents. This list will look vastly different as we approach the offseason. So keep in mind that the receiver crop could look different. Guys could get cut that are currently under contract for the next 2-3 seasons, but teams are ready to move on from them. George Pickens is available. He's not going to be available. There's no way the Cowboys are letting George Pickens hit the free agent market. Okay. And I know you're not trying to hear this shit, but I'm just going to be real with you. I still don't think they're in the market for a head case like George Pickens. I don't think that that's where our group is. And I know you're sick of hearing that shit, but until they prove us wrong and go get a guy that colors outside of the lines, until they do it, this is who we are. And you have to acknowledge, until they show us otherwise, that's who we're going to remain. Okay? So that is my offensive look at this roster. We will take a look at the defensive side tomorrow. We'll go through it the same way we went through it today. We will look at all the guys that have a future here, or at least will be here next year going into the offseason, guys that we can pack up. And then we'll take a look at some key free agents that might be available that would make sense for this football team as they look to build this roster. I think you're going to see this team get extremely younger in the offseason. They're going to overcorrect from and again, I don't think they made a terrible mistake getting older. They were chasing after a chip. It was done with intent and purpose. But now that that is off the table because of what has happened and they see the error of their ways, they're going to overcorrect, and you're going to see this roster get extremely younger next year. They're going to still be a smattering of veteran players that you bring in here that you trust to help you get this thing back on track. But I think you're going to see this team get significantly younger next year. We're going to be the 14th, 13th youngest team in the NFL next year instead of the oldest team in football. That's what I think you're going to see. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Hopefully you'll join me and the other Kings tonight for the Commanders Kings as we get active tonight talking about this forsaken team. But if not, I'll see you tomorrow for Commanders Nightly News and another installment of the Command Post Live. You guys have a good one. Take care. Peace.